Welcome to Thorn Nature Experience, where we are working in cooperation with Friends of Coal Creek to establish a pollinator habitat for our region. Our habitat has been intentionally planted with native species. We do have a handful of non-native adaptive species, but primarily the best species to choose to plant are going to be ones that are going to be native because that helps support native wildlife, especially native bees. And our intention is to be able to have this habitat have a winter forage. And when I'm talking about winter forage, is mostly just really about the habitat itself. Because insects are not that active in the winter, but they do need a place to live and basically have a safe place to be. So we've left this intact through the winter. And it creates a space for them to be able to have a place to hide. It also enables rabbits and squirrels and mice, snakes, anybody who's going to be active coming at the end of the winter or at any time where they need a place to have a shelter, there's that available. And lastly, it actually provides nesting materials for birds. Now that spring has begun, I want to point out something that's very important for you to pay attention to. I would recommend that you actually leave the seeded wildflower stems in place through the winter. And then as the plants start to emerge, you can see right down here that the buffalo grass here is actually starting to emerge from up for the springtime. Now is going to be the time I'm actually going to cut this back. And when I cut it back, I'm going to just drop it and let it stay because it actually is food for the worms and decomposers that are in the soil. And it also provides, like I mentioned just shortly before, that it actually provides material for birds to make nests. So it's a really great thing if you can to not necessarily pack up everything and compost it. If you can leave some of this debris around for wildlife to use, it is of great help to them. What does it require to really successfully plant? I recommend that you plant wildflower seed, if you can, in the beginning of the spring or wait until the beginning of winter to be able to do so because you want to be able to have it be irrigated or get moisture. I recommend actually utilization of seed balls. Seed balls are a great way to be able to plant where you don't have to distribute the seed because when I show you the seed, I ordered this from Pawnee Buttes, which is out of Greeley. I have a variety of different seed mixes that I select from. They're an excellent source for this. I have a seed. The seed is super light and feathery. It's not really all that easy to plant by just scattering it. So I would recommend that you dispersal method where you're just throwing the seed on the ground. You lose a lot of seed because the wind blows it away. I found it to be really pretty ineffective. What I'd recommend instead is actually to have a seed ball making system where you use powdered clay, which you can get from a local pottery shop. Compost, you can use like a mushroom compost or just a good basic compost you can get in bags, or you can get it delivered to your home in piles. And then you basically use water, and in a ratio of usually 1/3 to 2/3 compost to clay, you mix it together with seeds, like a teaspoon of seed to that ratio. You mix it up in a ball with some water, and you can make a basically nice sphere that way you can dry, like on a cookie tray, just out in the open air. And then after you dry them, then you can place them in the ground and they're protected. They won't blow away. And you can have them in like a square footage pattern, or you can spread them out a little bit broader because they're going to spread out once they get established. And that way you're going to be able to have them be planted just at the surface of the ground, just slightly, so you can just get them in the ground. Here's the surface of the ground, they're just below, and you can pat them out, maybe cover with a bit of mulch, and then you water it. We have an underground drip and also rotor system of our property. That is definitely the optimal way because you're going to be able to conserve water. If you do just standard like hose on the ground, sprinkler system on your garden, that will work too. But you have to come up with an irrigation system that will be as efficient as possible. The main thing is when you're starting to get something established, you have to think through about making sure that you're conserving water as best you can. Choosing native pollinated plants is a great way to go because it requires much less water once established than introduce things like grass, which don't really provide any habitat for pollinators anyway. The main thing is that you want to make sure you're very deliberate with how you water them. You want to water pretty intensively at the beginning until they get established. Once they're established, then you can taper off significantly. And it's similar to pretty much any plant you try to establish in a garden. One last thing I want to mention is that you want to make sure you feed your soil. I recommend using mycorrhizal fungi in small quantities to help add in the fungal element into your soil. You want to stimulate the soil by using a molasses blend. And lastly, Harlequin Gardens is an excellent source for organic materials, and they make a fertility mix. This is excellent and actually includes molasses and mycorrhizal fungi and also essential elements that will help to build the soil. So you can just go to them and they can actually help you with that too. So that should be all you really need to be able to get yourself set up. And if you want to, you can always contact Friends of Coal Creek or myself and at Thorn Nature Experience, and we can get you any further advice that you may need.